Mika, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Regional News. We started with some news on Kari Festa, where the region's premier cultural festival, which was scheduled to be held in Antigua and Barbuda in August next year, has been postponed to August 2022. The Honorable Darrell Matthew, Minister of Sports, Culture, National Festivals and the Arts of Antigua and Barbuda, announced the decision at a virtual meeting of the Regional Cultural Committee. The committee comprises of directors of culture from the 20 member states and associate members of CARICOM and members of the Interim Festival Directorate for Kari Festa. He indicated to the meeting that preparations had already commenced in earnest with the establishment of the Kari Festa Secretariat and a host country management committee that had been carrying out their mandate with enthusiasm, zeal, and purpose. Assistant Secretary General in charge of Human and Social Development at the CARICOM Secretariat, Dr. Douglas Slater, reminded of the challenges encountered by the culture and creative sector due to the devastation of COVID-19. Dr. Slater also encouraged the committee to use the meeting as an opportunity to rethink how best to organize Kari Festa and other national festivals and events within the context of the new normal. And we now turn to Grenada. The government of the island has announced plans to develop its own model for cultivation, distribution, supply, and use of marijuana as it moves forward to enforce aspects of the CARICOM Marijuana Commission report, which calls for the decriminalization and/or legalizing of the drug. At present, the use of marijuana is an illegal act according to the Grenadian law. Notwithstanding, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, during a recent town hall meeting for residents in the constituency of St. George's South, noted that, and I quote, "The fact is marijuana is known as a drug. We have to accept that. Cigarette is also known as a drug. Alcohol is also a drug. We don't have laws against the use of alcohol. We don't have laws against the use of cigarette, but we have laws historically against marijuana," end of quote. However, the Prime Minister did not provide a time frame for the legislative change, but he assured the public that his government will provide the information as decisions are made pertaining to marijuana. All 250 people detained early Sunday morning at a Zessa party in Caroni in Trinidad will be charged. This is the assurance of the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. He said he had given directives that everyone held at the event be charged on the paragraph 4D of the Public Health Coronavirus legislation. And I quote, "For far too long in situations like this, we would have held and charged only the owners or the promoter or the DJs at these events. Not anymore. It should not reach this point. The law is clear. I am not here to explain the law, clarify the law, or justify it. I am simply here to enforce it," Griffith said. Around 4 a.m. on Sunday, a team of officers from the Special Operations Response Team SORT, under the supervision of Sergeant Mark Hernandez, received intelligence that led them to a warehouse at River Branch Trace off Caroni South Bank Road. When officers arrived, they said the event was in full swing. More than 200 people were at the event, most not wearing masks or practicing physical distancing. As police announced their presence, several partygoers attempted to jump the 10-foot wall of the warehouse to escape along a nearby river. Several who attempted this sustained injuries when they fell over the warehouse walls. They were detained, but others got away from the officers. Some were eventually identified, detained, and questioned as their clothes were muddy from running along the riverbank and there were party admission bans on their wrists. And finally, the head of the United States government's coronavirus vaccine effort has said that the first doses of the drug will hopefully be administered by mid-December. Dr. Clow made the announcement in an interview with CNN on Sunday, just 2 days after Pfizer and BioNTech applied for emergency use approval from the Food and Drug Administration for their coronavirus vaccine. The companies have said preliminary trials showed the vaccine appeared to be 95% effective, putting it well above the usual FDA threshold for emergency use. FDA vaccine advisors reportedly will meet from December 8 to 10 to discuss approval for the new vaccines. Moderna has said its candidate is 94.5% effective. And I quote, "Our plan is to be able to ship vaccines to the immunization sites within 24 hours from the approval," end of quote. The doctor said, who heads so-called Operation Warp Speed, a federal program that scales up the manufacturing of promising vaccines as they developed. And I quote, "So I expect maybe on day 2 after approval on the 11th or the 12th of December," end of quote, he said. The official spoke just a day after the U.S. confirmed 12 million cases of the novel coronavirus in the country, according to Johns Hopkins University data. On Friday, the U.S. set another daily record of more than 198,000 newly confirmed cases amid a surge across the country as the colder months step in. And that is it for our region news this evening. And I continue to urge our viewers to stay indoors, wear those masks, use those hand sanitizers, and continue practicing social distancing. Back to you, Tamika.